Hey, what up, stream? Dude, it never ceases to amaze me what they'll turn into a trap beat. Welcome back to another No Heckin Way Wednesday. Today's No Heckin Way Wednesday is gonna be, it's gonna be more of like a react type situation because there's not much research to do here. It kind of like things happen in the NBA. We're going to be deep diving into some of my favorite conspiracy theories, maybe discovering new ones that I wasn't aware of beforehand. 3 off the top. The first ever NBA draft lottery, 1985, I believe, was rigged. Pretty compelling evidence. We're going to be checking out the 2002, I believe, Kings versus Lakers Western Conference final matchup, which is arguably one of the most egregious like evidence moments of sports rigging I have ever seen. So before the NBA lottery was introduced, if you guys don't know what the NBA lottery is, basically at the end of every single season, the bottom half of the league gets placed in a literal lottery. Depending on where you place, where you finish in the season, you have a higher percentage of getting a better draft pick. And so they basically, before the lottery was introduced to the league, teams would just fucking outright tank. Like they just would. The last place team got the first place pick. And so if you knew your team wasn't going to be good, you would just fucking just tank, okay? And they weren't even trying to hide it. So in order to combat that, especially when the NBA started being televised and it became like a real certified business, not just a sport, it's a business, they were like, we got to stop this from happening. Now we're going to introduce a lottery to even though tanking still happens, we've seen it in recent years. It was made to combat that. And then they go ahead and potentially rig the first instance of the lottery. I want to preface every single one of these conspiracy theories with that notion that the NBA is a business, okay? At the end of the day, regardless of how, if you play the sport, if you love the sport, if you've been watching, whatever, the NBA is a business, okay? They are trying to make money. They are trying to be profitable. And so keeping that in mind, it's not so far-fetched to think that they would go out of their way to bring more business and more eyeballs to big market teams. It's another theme that I want you guys to keep in mind today. There's big market teams, there's small market teams, okay? Big market teams like LA Lakers, New York Knicks, okay? Teams that have massive cities behind them usually bring in the most money. So you want those teams to be doing well so that those big quantities of people will spend more money on going to games, merchandise, things like that. We can do that.
I'm not saying I completely believe every theory I'm going to be talking about, but I am going to be laying out the evidence that makes each one convincing. Before 1985, the two worst teams flipped a coin to see who would get the #1 pick, which is
Wait, actually? Did you guys know that? I just thought it was the worst team. I just thought they gave the best pick to the worst team. Apparently, the 2 worst teams flip a coin, and that's how you get your good player.
Crazy to think about at this point, but 1985 was a turning point, and it was where the first conspiracy started. The league switched from a coin flip.
Okay, I don't want to talk about this one yet because I want BuzzFeed, dude. I shoulda. Hello. Okay, it's just Jesus. What are these fucking ads, dog? What the hell did we just watch? I'm so sorry you guys had to watch that. I'm so sorry.
Then James ending up in his hometown team of Cleveland, which desperately needed a superstar player. Well, there wasn't a better possible outcome. And the Cavs did win the lottery and picked LeBron first overall. Then a few years later, the same thing happened with Derrick Rose. The only difference this time was that the Bulls had the 9th worst record in the league that season and had only a 2% chance of winning the lottery, but they did, which is a little suspicious. But then to follow that up, LeBron leaves the Cavs and they again become the worst team in the NBA. play. And that very next year, they won the lottery with a pick that had a 2.8% chance to win it and drafted Kyrie Irving. They stayed bad, and not only did they win it again in 2013, but they won it for a third time in 3 years in 2014.
Bro, imagine getting three top first picks, not even top picks, first picks in the NBA draft, and being as garbage as they were for so long. Good God, man. I remember that stretch of time. That in itself is like, dude, it's got to be rigged. To win the lot, they got to be the luckiest people on planet Earth. But that's like, you can't dispute that. You know what I mean? You can't just be like, oh, it's rigged. They rigged it. Well, it's just fucking, they could just be extremely lucky.
And the conspiracy here is that the league gifted the Cavs valuable assets to either get them out of their terrible slump or to give them assets to lure LeBron James back eventually. That in 2011, 13, and 14, these drafts were considered to be rigged, but in between there 2012 was too. So that's a full 4-year stretch. And it's considered rigged because in 2010, the now New Orleans Pelicans team was sold to the NBA. The league was now left without a superstar, which wasn't great news for Tom Benson, who bought the team. Luckily for him though, in 2012, the Pelicans won the draft lottery and were able to draft Anthony Davis. But the conspiracy here is that since the team really wasn't looking compelling for anyone to buy, did the league secretly promise the first overall pick to Benson for buying the team, or did he just get lucky? Well, it wouldn't be the first time it happened, because back in the 90s when the Orlando Magic got sold, they won the next 2 draft lotteries. The first one gave them Shaq, and they won the second one with only a 1.7% chance.
That's interesting. I'd never heard that before. Could you imagine? I don't think that's too hard to believe either. You need to sell an NBA team, and so you're like, not only you get the NBA team, but also we can guarantee that first pick in the upcoming draft. How's that for you? How's that? Put some butts in the seats, dude. It's all fucking rigged.
And that was the case of Tim Donaghy. Now most of you know Tim Donaghy as the banished referee who served over a year in prison. And some people get the idea that he was banned for fixing games, but he was actually only banished and jailed for manipulating point totals of games to win bets that he placed on them. Yeah. Now Donaghy has fully admitted to manipulating point totals to win bets, but denied ever really fixing a game.
How do you not rig a game? If you're swaying a game in any fashion in order to win your bet, how is that not fixed? What are they trying to say here? Oh, I didn't fix games. I just rigged the point totals. Like, yeah, no, that's fixing games.
77% of the time in the 30 competitive games that he reffed in that stretch. And his calls favored the team that he bet on 23 out of the 30 times, which led to him winning 80% of the total bets.
What a piece of shit, dude.
And that still doesn't prove that he fixed any of the games. He was just trying to win bets. But whether he did it on purpose or not, him making foul calls on teams that he did it on purpose or not, what the fuck, had to affect a lot of outcomes of a lot of different games.
I didn't realize that there were so many people who thought so many years had been rigged as far as the NBA draft goes. I remember watching the Cavs get consecutive first overall draft picks and being like, that's a little suspect. But never did I be like, oh, like connect dots and be like, oh, it's a full-blown conspiracy theory that it's rigged. It's rigged. We're going to watch the first ever NBA lottery. And this one is just like straight up like, yeah, dog, I get it.
This week, we explore the controversy surrounding Patrick Ewing and the supposedly fixed 1985 NBA draft. And of course, that infamous frozen envelope.
Slippery.
I don't know about the frozen part. They're going to talk about how the envelope was marked. Okay, and that's how David Stern knew to grab that particular envelope. I haven't heard about the frozen thing.
Stern right back at it again.
This is old Slippery Stern in his rookie campaign.
Ooh, trying to prove himself.
Yeah, exactly. He's out there trying to prove himself, put the stats up to let the owners know they made a great decision.
Already from the jump, I don't like it.
At the time, Sports Illustrated had called him possibly, quote, the most recognized athlete ever to enter a major professional league, end quote.
This is 1985, so Michael Jordan is in the NBA at this point, but that was just his rookie year, 1984.
Including the Knicks, were eligible for the lottery, and each team had a 14.3% chance at earning the first pick to then draft Ewing. whatever team would draft him would instantly be made more relevant, as well as see an increase in ticket sales and likely playoff runs. The NBA was in trouble. Attendance was down. Jordan was still a rookie. And in 1982, the LA Times had reported that 75% of the players were on drugs. And the next year, the league nearly had to disband 6 of its teams.
This is a glossed over fact in history.
Totally.
Most people don't know that the NBA was in big, deep doo-doo in the 80s.
Is that real? In the 80s, 75%, he just said teams, 75% of the NBA teams were on drugs. What the fuck does that mean?
Also, if he ends up in the biggest market in sports, probably going to help the sport of basketball. 100%. Ends up in Sacramento, maybe a person at the Sacramento Bee writes an article on him, 5 people will read it.
Okay, this slander is just irresponsible.
Quote, there is a strong feeling among league officials and television advertising executives that the NBA will benefit most if Ewing winds up in a Knicks uniform, end quote. Lucky for the league, New York ended up with the first pick, and Ewing went to the Knicks, which among other...
So at this point, it's just like, okay, this would be really good for the NBA, okay? If the Knicks got the first pick, big market team, future Hall of Famer, NBA superstar Patrick Ewing, uncontested first pick, like they said, that would be great. Nothing too fishy here. They had a 1 in 6 chance, 1 in 7 chance, whatever they said, just like every other team. So, dude, same odds, right? It could have just been lucky. But wait, there's more.
Firstly, prior to this year, the draft order was determined by inverse order of finish. The 2 worst teams would be eligible for the first pick based on a coin toss. This led to tanking. 1985 marked the first year the NBA draft was televised.
Okay,
Brian McIntyre, then the head of the league's media relations, said they decided on the envelopes instead of something that could roll inside the circular container like balls because they, quote, were afraid of having the thing pop open and all the balls fly out, end quote, fearing it could make the ceremony seem undignified.
Very interesting they didn't go with the little ping pong ball method.
Well, they wanted to seem legit. The NBA was failing. The last thing they want is a bunch of balls flying out of the drum and make them look like a big clown show.
I guess, especially because this is the first.
Okay. I had never heard that before as to why they didn't use balls and they used envelopes. But I love in their quest to seem like legitimate came the biggest draft conspiracy theory that ever existed.
Let's break down the well-studied footage of the NBA draft.
All right, so this is the footage of the draft, very highly scrutinized. As you can see, this is the representative from Ernst & Winnie. He's the guy who's been tasked with putting the envelopes into the giant circle drum. There's envelope 1, 2, 3. Now let's pause for a second.
Okay, so this is when...
This is the envelope. Number 4 is the Knicks. Watch the pause he takes before he puts it in. Bangs it against the side right
now,
there.
why
so
would he do that?
bent.
So this is why I think that could be likely. That all David Stern would have to do is his grimy little NBA cheating pause into the thing, feel for the corner, Knicks get the first pick.
When he sticks his hand in, you'll notice he'll take his hands, put it on the envelope. He could have picked the one he just touched first, but he flips it over and then picks the one in the bottom of the pile.
Some suggest this flip of the envelopes
look at this.
could be Stern searching for the bent envelope. As history would show, the envelope Stern chose belonged to the Knicks. However, the most infamous alleged method of the fix doesn't surround the bent envelope, but rather a frozen envelope. Report.
Now wait a damn minute. They said it was what? I've never heard that before. Have you guys ever heard? I have never, in all my years, heard that they froze the Knicks envelope. Okay, I'm glad I'm not the only one.
Surfaced that claimed the envelope had been placed in a freezer, making it markedly colder and easier for Stern to pick out. The possibilities proposed get even more outlandish from there. Some have speculated the use of X-ray glasses.
No, they haven't.
No. No.
Yeah, I'm with you,
Give
dog.
me a break. X-ray glasses?
No, they
Or that
haven't.
the envelope could have been weighed down with rocks. Footage of the draft has been reviewed by magicians looking for sleight of hand, but found results to be inconclusive.
No, it hasn't, bro. They think David Stern's out there fucking doing magic tricks, bro. No fucking way. That's awesome. I would be more intrigued to watch that.
Stern had told the press, quote, "We were very pleased with the lottery. The interest was great. People are talking about the lottery instead of drugs, unauthorized franchise moves, or anything else negative," end quote.
Then you
No
guys
one's
aren't talking
talking
about
about
the drugs.
Well, now we're gonna talk about him.
It's almost like he felt guilty he got away with it.
For some, one of the most damning
Why would he
indicators
say
of
that?
foul
Is
play
that a real
was that
quote?
just a
Nobody's
day
talking about
after
the drugs.
draft,
We're so happy
a
for
New York
Patrick.
tabloid revealed that the lottery's seemingly unbiased accounting firm, Ernst & Winnie, was also the auditing firm for Gulf and Western, aka the company who owned the Knicks.
Hey, yo.
Madison Square Garden president Jack Crump, speaking about the possibility of the draft being fixed with the Los Angeles Times, said, quote, "Hey, I told them how to fix it 60 days ago. You call up Ernst & Winnie and you say, if we don't get Ewing, you're fired." More recently, when asked about the specifics of what went down,
Also, again, chat, from a business standpoint, all right? Regardless, like, you're going to get, like, the normal sports pages, articles, magazines, what have you, talking about the draft already, right? But now all of a sudden you got a conspiracy theory and you got fucking Twitch streamers talking about it 35 years after the fact, okay? This is big fucking brain. Big brain business, baby, okay? Jesus.
co-producer Ed Desser said of the allegations, quote, "It was hilarious when all the conspiracy stuff started. We were just worried about the things not falling out of the drum. We couldn't have been clever enough to think about freezing cards or bending cards," end quote.
That's why I think everybody looked so tense. They just didn't want to mess it up.
Nah, I think they had something to hide. That's why they looked tense.
Oh, brother.
Other times, Stern has held questions about the rigging in greater contempt. But let's dig deeper anyway, by testing the frozen envelope theory to see if this is even a
Okay,
viable method
we're
to
doing
fix the
actual
draft.
science
I'll tell you
projects.
what,
Let's
I'm
go,
gonna put an envelope in the
BuzzFeed
freezer
boys.
tonight.
Okay.
We'll cut back to us one day later from here.
Okay.
And we'll do it then. All right, this is the big reveal. We're gonna take out the frozen envelope and transfer it over into the other room. All right,
we go.
I've mixed them up. I think enough time has elapsed that it kind of is, it's similar to what happened on stage. Let's do
All
it.
right.
Yeah, do your little stern
Stern,
exhale.
yeah, the stern exhale.
No? Dude, I don't.
Wait, let me.
Try it.
Oh no. No! I still think there's life to this theory.
Or it was all luck.
I'll bend it a little bit like that.
Bend it and count how long it takes for me to grab this. He flips it. No. What? I'm literally
Well,
looking
let me
at
do it. Let me do it. Here we go. Hold on.
You gotta do a practice run first.
Oh, I found it. See, it's right there.
Oh my gosh, we need that
See?
old guy just turning it. It was all luck. It's a cute theory and everything, but it's luck.
Nobody knows for certain if the draft was fixed, but what we do know is that Stern went on to not only
I
build
love
up
that
the lottery.
cut. I love that cut. Where he's like, it was all luck. Nobody knows for certain. If you need to do something like giving a team the first draft pick in order to create hype and drive for the sport, and it's going to be better overall in years down the line, I can't disapprove. The next conspiracy theory that we're going to cover is from 2002, I believe, Western Conference Finals between the LA Lakers and the Sacramento Kings. Sacramento Kings being the clear underdog. The Lakers are on their way to three-peat this year, okay? Big market team. The world wants to see them three-peat, except for the city of Sacramento, okay?
On May 31st at 3:30 p.m.,
It's kinda
the
messed
Los
up.
Angeles Lakers and the Sacramento Kings began Game 6 of the 2002 Western Conference Finals at the Staples Center in Los Angeles, California.
I've been through like 2 breakups in my life, and the first thing I did was watch this series to get myself to even a darker place.
That might be.
Bro, imagine. My man's out here dealing with a heartbreak, and he goes, "There's only one thing that will make me feel better, and that's knowing that the Kings at one point felt worse. Let's ride it."
The most pathetic thing I've ever heard in my life.
The Kings, who held the best regular season record, were leading the series 3-2.
Okay, so the Kings, despite this is back to big market, small market. The Kings, their notable player, Chris Webber, but they also had Mike Bibby, Doug Christie, Vlade Divac, and Peja Stojakovic. One of my favorite teams of all time. Just because I rattled off those names, half a chat was probably like, who? Okay, Game 6. Kings are leading 3-2.
One more win to clinch a visit to the NBA Finals, but the Lakers, led by their dynamic duo of Shaquille O'Neal and Kobe Bryant, would prevail.
Oh wait, you're forgetting the other three on their team. The referee crew.
Later winning Game 7 in Sacramento,
True!
and eventually the championship, completing the Lakers' three-peat. Some consider it one of the worst officiated games in NBA history.
1000%. And I hope they touch on it so that you guys are convinced as well. If not, I might go find another fucking video because it was insanely one-sided.
One large part of the game that is pointed to and criticized is the free throw disparity between the two teams in the fourth quarter. The Lakers were averaging 22 free throws in each of the games in the series leading up to Game 6. However, the Lakers shot 27 free throws in the fourth quarter alone in Game 6. They shot 6. However,
So the most free throws attempted by the Lakers in any of the first 5 games was 27. All right. In Game 6, they attempted 27 free throws in the fourth quarter. 1 quarter of the game. They attempted as many free throws as the most attempts throughout any game.
they shot a total of 40 free throws in
40? 40 free throws in an NBA game?
The extra 18 or so free throws for the Lakers seemed odd to viewers. Here are just a few of the questionable calls.
This video has 757,000 views. I might be at least 60,000 of them.
That says a lot. That's a foul.
Is this a foul? They don't call that.
That's not a
Look
foul.
at that.
Hey
Okay.
man, sometimes games could be refereed poorly. That's all I'm saying.
And sometimes a team shoots 27 free throws in the fourth quarter.
That's an offensive
That's
foul.
a flop.
That is an offensive
Look at
foul.
this. All ball.
What a
they
great
call that
block.
a foul.
The body. He got him on the body.
Get out of
He
here.
got him on the body.
You get out of here.
Oh, that's easy to make when it's in slow motion. But when
You
it's
literally just said sometimes in a playoff game you don't call fouls. Then all of a sudden there's a little tiny tap to your precious little baby Kobe Bryant. Please, Mr. Referee, don't touch Mr. Kobe Bean. Don't touch Mr. Kobe Bean.
Both of the starting centers fouled out in the fourth quarter for the Kings, leaving literally no one to guard Shaquille O'Neal.
Scott Pollard is literally standing there with his hands up like this.
Oh yeah, how can we all forget defensive stalwart Scott Pollard?
You know what? Shout out to Scott.
Why is he doing him like that, bro? Why? Man, we're taking away from this whole controversy, this whole conspiracy theory right now. Ryan's cooking us right now.
Pollard. I met Scott Pollard when I was 6 years old.
Shout out to Scott Pollard. He served me last week at Applebee's. It was a really good meal.
Mike
What did Scott Pollard do? He didn't deserve that. An offensive foul.
Look at him. He knows.
I want to see the close-up. Let's go to the close-up. Technically, it actually is crowding the space.
It's down here. Kobe Bryant takes his left hand here, right arm, and goes bang.
He doesn't take
right
his
in the
left arm
face.
here. Here's the thing. That's a swim-through move. It's a classic fundamental post move. That's
If
a
I just did that to Ryan Bergara right here, I'd be carried off by security.
There was some initial outrage following Game 6. Former NBA referee Tim Donaghy filed a 4-page letter with U.S. District Judge Carol Bagley Amon through his attorney John Laro. In this letter, Donaghy makes potentially damning accusations against the NBA and their ethics. In the letter, they refer to the Kings as Team 5 and the Lakers as Team 6. Tim learned from referee A that referees A and F wanted to extend the series to 7 games. Tim knew referees A and F to be company men, always acting in the interest of the NBA, and that night, it was the NBA's interest to add another game to the series. Referees A and F heavily favored Team 6, Personal fouls, resulting in obviously injured players, were ignored even when they occurred in full view of the referees. Conversely, the referees called made-up fouls on Team 5 in order to give additional free throw opportunities for Team 6.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that Donaghy played a role in this.
Donaghy also wrote a book
He's not a good
published in
source.
2009 titled Personal Foul, a first-person account of the scandal that rocked the NBA. In it, he claims that Game 6 of the 2002 Lakers-Kings playoff was one of the games that showed him just how knowing the officiating team of a particular game could help him easily guess the winner. While Game 6 predates his gambling on NBA games, Donaghy claims he knew the outcome of Game 6 once the referees of the game were announced, and called it a stunning example of game and series manipulation at its ugliest.
In the end, Donaghy, who could have been sentenced to
We should make an
33
excuse
months
for
in
Donaghy.
prison per federal
Yeah, he's a
guidelines,
scumbag.
had his sentence reduced to 15 months instead. He entered prison on September 23, 2008. Donaghy's allegations were met with many reactions. David Stern, the NBA commissioner at the time, claimed that Donaghy's letter was clearly a ploy to lessen his sentence, that the allegations were baseless, and reminded people that Donaghy was, quote, an admitted felon.
Be looked into relating to the 2000.
This is gonna be good. Okay, let's go.
Between the Kings and the Lakers.
Let's go.
Because the way I see it, if
One-
it wasn't for a few questionable,
Ori's feet were not set here. This could have
I
gone
really do
either
believe
way.
There is more that needs to be looked
But to
into
call
relating to the 2002
an offensive
Western
foul
Conference final game between the Kings.
When you're gonna let Mike Bibby get elbowed in the fucking face and not call anything, that was a no call. Okay, I'm almost certain this was Vlade Divac's sixth foul. They called this on Vlade.
Schweber is forced to play less aggressive for the rest of the game.
Grabs his
to avoid
fucking
also
hand,
picking up his
makes
sixth foul.
Ori fall.
The Kings now in possession. Again, give the
Or
ball
Devin
to
George.
Webb
Was that Devin
as
George?
He begins to post up just outside of the paint.
It was
He
Ori.
goes to throw up what looks like
And then
an airball.
Vlade goes to
But on
get the
further
ball, and
review,
they call a
it is
foul
seen
on
that Samaki
Vlade.
Walker fouls
What?
Weber as he shoots his shot, which explains the apparent airball. But again, the refs missed the call. Just imagine getting hit this hard by a 7'2", 325-pound beast like Shaq. How that wasn't at least a flagrant one, till this day blows my mind. Kobe now has the ball in his hand with 2 minutes left. He drives to the hoop to be blocked by C. Webb in the act. Except, the refs call a shooting foul.
That honestly, you could argue that's a flagrant. There wasn't even an attempt for the ball. It was a horribly officiated game. It was horribly officiated. Can we say without a doubt that it was rigged? No. But it was probably what it warranted an investigation. But I hope you guys enjoyed this week's episode of No Heckin Way Wednesday. Dude, I love basketball. I love conspiracy theories. If you guys are interested in more stuff like this, every single Wednesday we cover some sort of conspiracy theory, anomaly, some what if unsolved situation, and it's been a blast so far. So hopefully you guys have been enjoying it.